We will make good money. Yeah. My artist. Under a prize. Which is a prize. You can see yourself in Paulo. Yeah. I stopped to bed, you know. I'm afraid that's what I'm afraid for. The form of prejudice. You don't know what you will say in the speech.
We stay stood, okay?
Okay.
For now.
I'm going to change.
Corner, luați loc pentru aceea să vă...
Acum când te dau de
ședința.
Da?
După aceea, imediat. Luați loc pe cameră.
So, let's see. Let's for a moment. Let's see for a moment.
For a moment. Yes. I will tell you when. Bună dimineața, onorat prezidiu, stimați membri ai Senatului Universității Valahia din Târgoviște, stimați parteneri din KreativEU, dragi colegi, dragi invitați. Honorable Presidium, distinguished member of the Senate, distinguished partner of KreativEU, dear colleagues, dear guests, please rise for Gaudams.
Gaudeamus igitur, iuvenestum sumus. Gaudeamus igitur, iuvenestum sumus. Post iucunda iuventute, post modestam senectute, nos habenecumus, nos habenecumus. Vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum KreativEU, vivat membrum KreativEU, semper sit in flore, semper sit in flore.
Stimată audiență, declar deschisă ședința festivă a Senatului Universității Valahia din Târgoviște, prilejuită de acordarea titlului Doctor Honoris Causa, distinsului profesor universitar João Pereira de Freitas, Coroado, președintele Alianței KreativEU. I hereby declare open the festive session of the Senate of Valahia University of Târgoviște, occasioned by the awarding of title Doctor Honoris Causa to the Professor João Pereira de Freitas, Coroado, President of the KreativEU. Trăim astăzi un moment deosebit în viața academică a universității noastre. Prin acordarea acestui titlu prestigios, aducem un elogiu unei personalități marcante a lumii academice europene, profesorului João Pereira de Freitas, Coroado. Doctor Honoris Causa este mai mult decât un titlu. Este o recunoaștere a unei vieți dedicate educației, excelenței și apropierii dintre oameni. Dincolo de instituții și de proiecte, astăzi celebrăm legătura umană și legătura umană, prietenia dintre comunitățile noastre universitare, dintre oamenii care cred în aceeași idee. Educația este cel mai sigur drum spre viitor. Distinsul profesor João Pereira de Freitas, Coroado, spirit creator și vizionar, domnia sa a dovedit prin întreaga carieră universitară și prin activitatea de lider academic o preocupare constantă pentru promovarea celor mai înalte idealuri educaționale și culturale. În mod deosebit, viziunea de a reuni într-o construcție europeană unită și coerentă cele 11 universități partenere din KreativEU reprezintă o contribuție remarcabilă la consolidarea unei identități academice europene bazate pe cooperare, respect și inovație. Today, we are living a special moment in the academic life of our university. By awarding this decision title, we pay tribute to a remarkable personality of the European academic world, Professor João Pereira de Freitas. Doctor Honoris Causa is more than a title. It is a recognition of life dedicated to education, excellence, and bringing people closer together. Beyond the institution and projects, today we also celebrate the human bond, the friendship between our academic community, between people who share the same belief. The education is the fast path toward the future. The distinguished Professor João Pereira de Freitas Coroado, a creative and visionary spirit, has demonstrated through his academic career and through his activity as an academic leader a constant commitment to promoting the highest educational and cultural ideas. Notably, his vision of bringing together in the united and coherent European framework the 11 partner University of KreativEU Consortium represents a remarkable contribution to strengthening a European academic identity based on cooperation, respect and innovation. Având în vedere hotărârea Senatului, adoptată în unanimitate, prin care s-a decis acordarea acestui titlu onorific, îmi revine deosebită onoare de a prezenta Comisia de Laudatio. Considering the Senate decision, it is my honor to present Laudatio Committee. The President is Associate Professor Engineer João Corneliu Sălișteanu, Director of Valahia University. The members are Professor Silviu Miloiu, Valahia University. Professor Sergiu Mustață, Valahia University. Professor Eugenio Pina Almeida, Polytechnic Institute of Tomar. And also the distinguished Professor Herminia Sol, Polytechnic Institute of Tomar. Îmi face o deosebită plăcere să-l invit pe rectorul Universității Valahia dintre conferențiar universitar Dr. João Corneliu Sălișteanu să rostească laudație în onoarea profesorului João Pereira de Freitas de Coroado. I will invite Rector of Valahia University, Associate Professor João Corneliu Sălișteanu, to deliver the laudatio in the honor of Professor João Pereira de Freitas Coroado. Please, Mr. Rector.
Thank you very much, Madam President of the Senate, honorable Commission, distinguished, magnificent rectors, distinguished presidents, representatives of the universities, members of the Senate, dear colleagues from Valachia University and KreativEU universities, dear students, it is my pleasure to have the first word as president of this commission to support the proposal for Professor Coroado. In the name of the enduring pursuit of wisdom and the noble tradition of honoring those whose intellect and deeds illuminate the path of knowledge, Valachia University of Târgoviște, through its rector and academic senate, RB proposes the conferral of the title Doctor Honoris Causa upon Professor João Paulo Pereira de Freitas Coroado, President of Politehnice University of Tomar. This solemn distinction is offered in recognition of his eminent and unwavering contributions to the advancement of interdisciplinary research in cultural heritage, the science of sustainable materials, and the governance of higher education at national and European level. Over the course of more than 3 decades, Professor Coroado has exemplified a rare union of scientific precision, cultural stewardship, and institutional foresight, qualities most worthy of the highest academic honor our university may bestow. Professor Coroado's academic journey began with a bachelor degree in geology from the University of Coimbra in 1990, followed by a master's degree in geochemistry from the University of Aveiro in 1995. He earned his doctorate in geosciences from the same institution in 2001 with thesis titled Ceramic Properties of Clays from the Aveiro and Tomar lithostratigraphic units. It's difficult even for me, and I'm an engineer. This early work laid the foundation for a career dedicated to the scientific study of natural and cultural materials. Since joining the IPT in 1990, Professor Coroado has held every academic rank, culminating in his appointment as president of the university in 2019. His previous roles include Vice President between 2015 and 2019, Director of the School of Technology, and Director of the Department of Conservation and Restoration. He has also served on IPT's General Scientific and Pedagogical Councils, contributing to the strategic development of the institution and the advancement of interdisciplinary education. Professor Coroado's most significant scientific legacy lies in his interdisciplinary approach to cultural heritage conservation. His research integrates geosciences, archaeometry, chemistry, microbiology, and materials engineering to investigate and preserve historical and artifacts and build heritage. His work has addressed a wide range of heritage materials from 15th and 16th century Portuguese and Baroque wooden sculptures, to Roman mortars, medieval tiles, and Moroccan Zelis ceramics, to advanced analytical techniques such as SEM, EDS, micro-XRD, Raman spectroscopy, and synchrotron micro-XRF. He has contributed to the understanding of material composition, degradation mechanism, and historical manufacturing techniques. Notable projects include the Tasselo project, focused on the conservation of monumental terracotta sculptures in the monastery of Alcobaça. The Azulejar project, addressing the conservation of Portuguese azulejo tile coatings. Studies on invisible ground layers in early Portuguese paintings, which have reshaped conservation approaches and art historical interpretation. the microbiological assessment of the unfinished sacristy of the Convent of Christ in Tomar, integrating biological sciences into heritage diagnostics. These contributions have had a direct impact on museum practices, restoration methodologies, and heritage policy, both in Portugal and internationally. Professor Coroado has also been a pioneer in the development of sustainable construction materials, particularly through the valorization of industrial and organic waste. His research on eggshells, seashells, and brewing byproducts as alternative sources for lime and ceramics has been published in leading journals such as Materials and Structures and Waste and Biomass Valorization. His work on limecrete under fire condition, thermal insulation in ceramic bricks, and eco-efficient mortars demonstrates a commitment to environmental sustainability, bridging the gap between heritage conservation and green innovation. Moreover, his involvement in the HydroArid project, which assessed groundwater resources and saline intrusion in Cape Verde, reflects his broader concern for environmental resilience and resource management in vulnerable cultural landscapes. Professor Coroado's research has been conducted in collaboration with institutions across Portugal, Spain, Morocco, Tunisia, and Colombia, contributing to a global dialogue on heritage science. His work has been published in high-impact journals such as Journal of Analytical Atomic Spectrometry, Microscopy, and Microanalysis, Applied Clay Science, Journal of Archaeological Science Reports, and many, many more. These publications reflect both the scientific excellence and international relevance of his research. In addition to these national and scientific achievements, Professor João Paulo Coroado has demonstrated exemplary leadership at the European level as President of KreativEU, a transnational alliance of higher education institutions committed to fostering innovation, creativity, and sustainability across Europe, to which both Politehnice University of Tomar, the leader partner, and Wallachia University of Târgoviște, the initiator partner, belong. Under his presidency, KreativEU has become a dynamic platform for interdisciplinary collaboration, integrating arts, sciences, and technology to address contemporary societal challenges. His strategic vision has strengthened the Alliance's capacity to promote eco-cultural heritage as driver of social cohesion and economic development, while enhancing the international visibility of the 11 member institutions and more than 100 associated partners. Professor Coroado's role in shaping KreativEU reflects his enduring commitment to building bridges between disciplines, institutions, and nations in pursuit of shared cultural and educational goals. Professor João Paulo Pereira de Freitas Coroado is a scholar of exceptional merit whose work exemplifies the value of intellectual rigor, interdisciplinary innovation, and cultural stewardship. His contributions have advanced the scientific foundations of heritage conservation, promoted sustainable practices, and strengthened academic institutions. In recognition of his distinguished career and enduring impact on science, culture, and education, it is with great honor that we propose the conferral of the title Doctor Honoris Causa of Wallachia University of Târgoviște upon Professor João Paulo Coroado. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rector. Now I will invite the distinguished Professor Eugenio Pina de Almeida to share with us his word and his appreciation. Please, Professor.
Excellence, President Claudia Julia, magnificent Rector João Cornelius Salistini, honorable rectors, presidents, professors, distinguished participants, students, ladies and gentlemen, my dear João Coroado. First of all, I wish to thank the kind invitation that was addressed to me to be part of this important Laudatio event. On November 3, 1963, João Paulo Pereira de Freitas Coroado was born in Coimbra, the first of three brothers. After a childhood and youth always connected to sports and nature, which somehow influenced his academic career, he enrolled in geology degree at the University of Coimbra, which he completed in 1919. His natural curiosity for the intersections between science and the real world, leading to pursue his academic studies in the University of Aveiro, where he completed a master's degree in 1994 and a PhD degree in 2001, studying the geochemical correlation between pottery from Desert Valley and clays of Tomar. This research work took place in parallel with his academic career that began at the Politehnice Institute of Tomar in 1991 in the Department of Art, Archaeology and Restoration, developing an interest in studying ceramic materials in the context of art and archaeology. As a professor, visiting and associate professor, he was also taught at University of Cape Verde, in the field of museography and cultural heritage, at the Federal University of Minas Gerais, Brazil, in the field of landscape archaeology, as well as the several universities in Spain, Italy, France, and in related areas. With regard to his main area of scientific research, he was focused on developing research in the field of material science, particularly on designing mortars compatible with heritage preservation, as well as studying the physical and chemical characteristics of materials for conservation. His contributions in this field have been widely recognized by his peers, leading to numerous invitations to join inter-university and multidisciplinary research teams. Throughout his scientific career, João Coroado was co-authored numerous publications and articles in reputed international journals. His extensive list of national and international publications demonstrates a solid engagement with material science applied to conservation and restoration, which has granted him the respect of his peers. In addition to his academic and scientific work, João Coroado also made his mark institutional in terms of organizational management. In 2003, he became head of Department of Conservation and Restoration at Tomar Higher School of Technology, where he played a key role in modernizing the laboratories and promoting the internationalization of the degree program in conservation and restoration. Furthermore, João Coroado, throughout this period, was involved in the supervision and co-supervision of a number of doctoral students, as well as in the coordination of outstanding research projects. In 2010, he took up the position of director of the Tomar higher technological school, where he undertook the mission of promoting research at the intersection of the technology, the arts, and the humanities, while also fostering the regional, national, and international levels. In 2015, he was appointed Vice President of IPT, where he continued his previous work and played a leading role in establishing two research units, technology and enhancement of arts techniques, and the Smart City Research Center, both approved and founded by the Foundation for Science and Technology. In 2019, he was elected President of the Politehnice Institute of Tomar. Building on this experience gained in previous positions, João Coroado introduced a series of reforms that ultimately transformed the Polytechnic Institute of Tomar into the current Polytechnic University of Tomar. Alongside his academic, scientific, and professional career, his commitment to responding to the needs of the local community and his remarkable contribution to the pursuit of the sustainable development goals stand out. The promotion of initiatives fostering community engagement and the regional integration have intensified. Cooperation agreements with local governments as well as the intermunicipal entities and business associations are reinforced with the aim of exploring opportunities for technology and knowledge transfer and for the development of research projects across a wide range of scientific fields. In particular, projects focused on cultural heritage and regional development have been actively encouraged and supported during his presidency, ensuring that IPT acts as an effective driver of economic and social growth, both within its region and influence and international level. Taking all of the above into consideration, João Coroado's commitment to sustainability and heritage preservation becomes evident. Moreover, his ability to anticipate challenge and lead crucial change was also being demonstrated, notably in spearheading the creation of the KreativEU University Alliance. Crucial initiatives such as this, along with those previously mentioned, have enabled IPT, releasing itself from a peripheral small town higher education institution that he held for many years, becoming a higher education institution operating on an international level, committed to its mission of democratization.
Come on.
Access to knowledge in a pluralistic environment where several European traditions interact and negotiate with the purpose of preserving and disseminating European Union's humanistic values. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I am also honored to give the floor to Professor Sergiu Mustață to represent the Laudatio in behalf of the academic community of Alianței. Please, Professor.
Mr. President, dear rectors, dear colleagues and friends of the Slovakia University, it's my honor to give a speech in favor of our great friend and man who is part of this celebration of the excellence, academic professionalism, and also partnership and friendship. So Professor Dr. João Paulo Pereira de Freitas Coroado, as a president of Polytechnic Institute of Tomar, and our president of KreativEU Alliance. It's a great example of professional approach and the high quality management as doing a lot of things in a way to manage his university and our consortium. I will not repeat exactly what already was mentioned by my colleagues, and I'll try to light some things which impressed me very much when I try to learn more from his curriculum vitae. So during his academic career, we could see a couple of ways of development, of the personal development, and also contribution to the academic environment. And the special, the way of being involved in different institutions, departments, and taking responsibilities from various points of view. For example, he was member of the General Council of the Polytechnic Institute of Tomar. And then he was member of the Pedagogical Council, which is very important to understand the background of pedagogical problems of the university. Also, he was director of Organic Unite, speaking about the management of the executive issues, to understand the problems behind of the daily work of each institutions and each departments of the Polytechnic Institute of Tomar. And also being part of the board of the directors, trying to be the manager of the managers of the such important institution in this academic structure. And today I think it's a great example. The former rector gave a speech in favor of the actual rector of the Polytechnic Institute of Tomar, which is demonstrating a long and sustainable friendship between two leaders of universities. So, in addition to the teaching and administrative activities, Professor João has developed and implemented huge number of impressive research projects. And I will give you just a few examples of such projects. Tasselo project, studies for the conservation of the monumental terracotta sculpture of the Alcobaça monastery. As an archaeologist and working on the heritage issues, I discovered a really interesting and innovative approach how to deal with the historic materials, how to understand the technology, and how to adapt the new materials for the best and sustainable conservation of the historical artifacts. Another project, medieval tile in Portugal, a Provence study, which is also an example of the local heritage, but also in relation of the other heritage or the artifacts at the macro regional level. And then regulation of indoor air quality through the use of eco-efficient mortars, which is also another successful project, which received a lot of good and brilliant results. Because nowadays many people who are working in conservation trying to use modern materials, which is good but not so well, because the impact of today's materials, it's a very bad to the historical and original materials. That's why to analyze from the geological perspective, from chemical perspective, from physical perspective, it's very important original technology and original materials, and to try to adapt new knowledge and innovations. So, a multidisciplinary approach to the modification, alternativity, and conservation of materials is also an example of how to adapt new and paradigms to the creative values, to try to use historic heritage to nowadays, because what we have today is the past and trying to give the new approach. And the new approach has to be in favor of the originality, because the main criteria to preserve heritage is authenticity and integrity. And his projects, I think, giving an example how to deal correctly of our past and our heritage for better and sustainable preservation. Last but not least are the scientific publications, and we here could see in his video a huge list, and most of them are done in partnership with his colleagues and students and PhD students, which is another great example to share your knowledge of colleagues and, of course, young scholars, to encourage them, to bring them in a team, to bring them on a board of the project, and to try to share and give them the chance to develop and to try to go up to the careers and to maintain them in academic environment, because it's not so easy today to bring and maintain youngs around us. Based on his professional merits, which I mentioned above, I believe that Professor João Coroado deserves to the title of the Doctor Honoris Causa of our university. And by granting this title, I think Valasi University publicly recognize and appreciate your professional merits, results, and of course recognize your very brilliant academic career. We are very honored to have you as part of our university and welcome aboard, and of course we will try to work together to develop and demonstrate the KreativEU Aliançei University. It's one of the best in Europe. Viva Profesores, viva Academia. My best wishes to the college and staff.
Professor. Now it is my pleasure and honor to invite my dear colleague, Professor Silviu Miloi, to express his esteem and respect for the work and personality of Professor Coroado. Professor Silviu Miloi plays an important role in KreativEU, and for that, thank you, Silviu. And please, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Well dressed so beautifully, so let's just enjoy also the new faces and the beautiful gowns that we can see here. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much, dear magnificent President of the Senate, for giving me the opportunity to address these wonderful people, the members of the Senate, the rectors, vice-rectors, former rectors, presidents, and also students community that participate in honoring João Coroado, the president of Polytechnic University of Tomar, IPT, and the president of KreativEU, one of the 65 alliances that exist in Europe, and for sure one of the top 10. So it's really a privilege and a delight to present before you the figure of Professor João Paulo Pereira de Freitas Coroado, whose academic career, scholarly contributions, and service to higher education exemplify the very finest tradition of our university and the KreativEU Alliance. His professional path has been inseparably bound to the Polytechnic University of Tomar, where he commenced as a monitor in 1990, rose through the ranks of assistant, adjunct professor, full professor, and since 2019, as it was mentioned before, has held the highest dignity of the institution as its president. So it seems being a president seems to be a way of life for João Coroado lately. So, of course, my great and colleagues just mentioned several of his many accomplishments in the field of science. But Professor Coroado is a leader of European vision, presiding not only over his national institution, but also over our alliance, whose mission is to foster knowledge and creativity across the borders, to unite universities in a common cause, and to inspire a generation of scholars to think beyond the confines of their own traditions. Because what we are doing now is just to look a bit more, to look a bit wider, to enlarge our scope and our vision. That's why we are not only a European alliance, we are a global alliance through our partnerships and also for something that will soon follow, the official launching of UNESCO Winnie-Twin that is presided over by my distinguished colleague Sergio Mustață and by Erminia Sul from the Polytechnic University of Tomar, the only one existing in Romania. At the same time, the corpus of his published work represents a synthesis of tradition and innovation, where scientific analysis and humanistic insight converge. It has brought distinction not only to his own institution, but also to the international scholarship. For these reasons, his name may justly be inscribed among those whose learning constitutes a lumen scientia and whose example provides guidance for generations to come. While the rector may claim that he is closer to his field, and he is right, I can also claim that he is closer to our field, and I may be also right. Through his undertakings, Professor Coroado has not only fostered the individual growth of his students, as it was mentioned by Sergio, but also forged enduring intellectual networks across Portugal and beyond. His role as mentor and co-creator of knowledge attests to a rare academic generosity, whereby authority is exercised not in the spirit of possession, but in the transmission of wisdom. It stands firmly within the lineage of those who, since the origins of our universities as a corpus, have held the true measure of scientia is its capacity to be shared and renewed. Cultural heritage, in its truest sense, as Professor Coroado has professed, is less a fixed monument than a river whose currents carry the sediment of heritage, imagination, and identities. Within the framework of the KreativEU Alliance, this river is navigated collectively, tracing pathways that link the whispers of the past with the question of the present. It is here that the Alliance acts as both a vessel and a compass, guiding the delicate exchange between tangible artifacts, artistic expression, and the ephemeral traces of lived experiences, all while nurturing the fertile ground in which new ideas may take root. The flow of this river has been shaped in quiet but decisive ways, guided by those who first imagined the course, whose early foresight set the banks and determined the contours along which collaboration might flourish. From these origins, the Alliance has grown into a confluence where scholarship, pedagogy, and creativity meet, interweaving disciplinary currents in ways that allowed heritage not merely to meet and to endure, but to animate the present and illuminate the paths toward the future. The Alliance, under its current stewardship, exemplifies how leadership in cultural initiatives needs not to be ostentatious, but to be transformative. It is a matter of harmonizing energies and intentions across space and time. In this shared endeavor, cultural heritage becomes both medium and message, a dialogue between the weight of history and the buoyancy of the aspiration. Collaboration resonates like a chord within the broad symphony, connecting innovation and memory to action. The river of heritage, sustained and steered with care, continues to carry forward the Alliance purpose, to ensure that learning, creativity, and culture are inseparable companions, and the currents are each rich, deep, and generous in the possibilities they offer. It is within this space that the practice of research and conservation finds its highest purpose. Scientific methods, material analysis, when guided by curiosity and imagination, and they reframe the ways in which societies perceive themselves. Culture and heritage thus emerge as instruments of creation as much as preservation. forming a continuum where knowledge, memory, and vision intersect. In cultivating this intersection, the work of those devoted to heritage transforms the past into a medium for reflection, creativity, and hope. For the many years that I met Professor Coroado, I know that these are his intimate thoughts. In conferring upon Professor João Paulo Pereira de Freitas Coroado today the honorary title of Doctor Honoris Causa, Wallachia University, its President of Senate, Director, not only honors a distinguished scholar, a visionary leader, and a dedicated servant of higher education, but also proclaims its commitment to the ideals of international collaboration, cultural stewardship, and academic excellence. Professor Coroado, by your presence among us and by your lifelong labors, you have strengthened the bonds between our nations and advance the cause of knowledge and culture. It is with gratitude, admiration, and respect that we welcome you into the fellowship of our university. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Profesor Milor. Cu profundă considerație, mulțumesc tuturor membrilor Comisiei de Laudatio pentru cuvintele de înaltă apreciere dedicate profesorului João Pereira de Freitas Coroado. Având în vedere îndeplinirea tuturor procedurilor academice, îmi face deosebită onoare să vă felicit, stimate domnule profesor, pentru primirea titlului Doctor Honoris Causa. Stimată audiență, adevărata noblețe a unui universitar nu stă doar în erudiție, ci în puterea de a inspira și de a uni oameni dincolo de granițe. În numele Senatului Universității și al întregii comunități universitare, vă spun bun venit în familia academică a Universității Wallachia din Târgoviște. Sunt convinsă că inițiativele domniei voastre merită să aducă împreună universități diverse din întreaga Europa, sub emblema KreativEU, vor deschide noi perspective pentru mii de tineri care studiază, care își formează gândirea și abilitățile pentru lumea viitorului. Această construcție academică europeană nu este doar un proiect, ci este o punte între culturi, între tradiții și între generații. Un spațiu în care excelența se întâlnește cu prietenia. Since all academic procedures have been fulfilled, it is my distinct honor to congratulate you, esteemed professor, on receiving the title Doctor Honoris Causa. The true nobility of the scholar does not lie only in erudition, but in the power to inspire and to unite people beyond borders. On behalf of the Senate and the entire academic community, I say, welcome to academic family of Wallachia University of Târgoviște. I am convinced that your initiative aim and bring together diverse universities from across Europe under the logo of KreativEU will open a new perspective for thousands of young people who study, who shape their thinking and skills for world of tomorrow. This European academic construction is not only a project, but also a bridge between cultures, between tradition and generation. A space where excellence meets friendship. Dear Rector, Professor Ioan Corneliu Sălișteanu, I will present you the now the Doctor Honoris Causa diploma on the laureate.
Please come with me.
Osmoles vivat Academia, vivat Profesores, vivat membros, vivat sempre sit in glore, sempre sit in
Cu deosebită bucurie și onoare, mesajul de prezentare pe distinsul profesor Paulo Pereira de Freitas, Coroado. Now, with great joy, I will invite Professor João de Freitas, Coroado to address his message. Please, Professor, it's your turn.
Good morning to all. I'd like to express my honor for the kind words that all of the members of the Commission talk about me, and the words also my former president. I didn't know he knows a lot so much about me. Okay. Magnificent rector, João Cornelius Stanislao, Solicitano. Sorry, I tried. Her Excellency, the President of the Senate, Claudia Julia. Thank you. Honor Commission, members of the Senate, honorable rectors, presidents, and their deputies, former rector, professors, distinguished participants, students, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I would like to begin to express my sincere gratitude to the magnificent rector for his warm welcome, and to the Senate of our University of Targovist for bestowing upon me the distinguished title of Doctor Honoris Causa. This is a deep honor, and I'm fully aware that it would not have been possible without the collaboration and support of all with whom I have had the privilege to work and learn from throughout my academic journey. By training, I'm a geologist, and my research has been always focused on clay and clay-based materials. Yet, by a fortunate twist of fate, although my initial ambition was to work in the industry, I was invited when I finished my bachelor degree to temporarily replace a professor from University of Coimbra who was in sabbatical and was a professor also in the Politehnice University of Tomar. Allowed me to stay at the Polytechnic University of Tomar, where I began teaching with demonstration and and then as the head of well, here I am today. Over time, my involvement in conservation and restoration has involved into a engagement with culture and studies, which I found myself for local traditions which folklore has always held a special place. Among the projects I valued most, I would like to highlight the creation of the Research and Development Unit as well the European University KreativEU. On this occasion, I wish to extend my fellow contribution to these initiatives and to their success. This distinction is not only a recognition of past achievements, but also a culture of present. Our mission as academics is not merely to preserve knowledge, but to foster inclusiveness, our understanding of the cultures that shape our identities and history. In this spirit, allow me to share a necessary reflection that has guided my involvement in these and other projects. The last purpose of our project as a University Alliance must be to promote a better understanding of our cultures. Honorable President and his deputies, professors, distinguished participants, students, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends. There are several traits that distinguish Homo sapiens from the other beings, even from those closest to us in taxonomic terms. Among all our peculiarities, we are the only beings within our system who dynamically interconnect the past in the shape of culture and memory with the present, which is life and the things that surround us, and with the future, which is the dream. This idea is well expressed in Confession in the book 11, chapter 20, by Aurelius Augustine of Hippo, St. Augustine, as all know. To dream is to engage in the projection of tomorrow. As a Portuguese poet and scientist, Rómulo de Carvalho, under a pseudonym, António Gedeão, wrote, "Dream drives life. Dream, the world leaps forward." Human beings are about future, about planning, about ambition, about anticipating joy and suffering. Thus, this is more fleeting opportunism, genetic memory, and far more than the instinct that is essential to govern the animal kingdom. Living without dreams, without ideas, without will or curiosity, living without sense of the future, even utopian, condemn us merely to survive. Away the end, and repetition of political patterns. It condemns us to sadness and open to resentment. The present and the future of human beings are supported by the cultural map, nourished by memory, which interlinks the body resource inherited from the past. These are embodied in our cultural heritage through innovations, documents, or integrate materials or immaterial anthropic expressions implemented in the past and translate into our cultural diversity. This culture of cultures, made of cultures, in a fractal relationship, also referred to as the finger of God, fingerprint of God, bears witness to and express values, habits, and tradition that take shape in knowledge, beliefs, rites, laws, codes, customs, and all other capacities. These, in turn, encompass art, literature, lifestyles, and the way of living together acquired as individuals belonging to a human society. The mission of researchers in the study of humankind is to search for missing links and reconstruct the supposed way of living of the past cultures from fragmentary evidence circumscribed to their material remains, as well to establish a relationship between the available set of data and the contemporary practice of societies that have experienced prolonged isolation and, as a result, have developed unique traditions and societal structures that differ significantly from those more interconnected societies. This idea is grounded in the principle of natural causes, or actualism, formulated in 18th century by James Hutton, which is still regarded as a method of greatest heuristic value for the study and understanding the history of the earth, despite the epistemological disagreements between the theories of catastrophes defended by George Cuvier and that of uniformitarianism advanced by Charles Lyell. The development of technological means of observation and recording made possible through the principle confirmed the theory of continental drift proposed by Alfred Wegener, and this is now referred to as the theory of plate tectonics, following the studies led in 1960s, notably those of Harry Huss and Robert Dietz, on the sea floor, spreading and further confirmed by Frederick Wien and Jumon Matthews through the mapping of magnetic strip patterns on the floor of Atlantic Ocean, which matched as reversals in the Earth's magnetic field symmetrically along the rift. Yet, despite many scientific advancements facilitated by technological development, only of humanity's greatest achievements after the emergence of consciousness is trust. To have overcome these issues related to fear and to suspicion of others as a mechanism of self-defense and as shaper of closed, self-sufficient cultural identities is a sign of an evolved, vibrant society and rests above all on the bonds that unite people. Culture expressed in heritage and memory, particularly in the preservation of identities shaped by what is unique, by what is shared, by the duty not to forget, strengthen the bonds of tolerance, creativity, which form the foundation of a more realized citizenship and collective well-being. The history of European culture is wrought in dynamics that have favored, above all, the parallel global flows of people rather than meridional ones. This effect is understood through the consideration of environmental, geographic, protein-related factors which reflect similar thermal gradients and broad, low-altitude corridors that facilitate mobility, leaving their mark on shared cultural influences. In this context, the cultural diversity of these peoples reveals many close identity and heritage bonds far beyond the effect of political and administrative borders or ideological obsessions which filter and flatten cultures in propaganda formats, constructing and imposing standardized cultures far removed from the freedom of creation and participation. The values of both scholarly and popular cultures are materialized in plurality of symbolic, artistic, and heritage manifestations, embracing traditions as well as contemporary creations within a continuous collective creative process in which we are and should all be involved. Hence, brilliance is then the successive application of knowledge and the intrinsic symbiotic memory or heritage of diverse influences and errors, connected, tangible and intangible heritage in a collective creative process embodied by one or more protagonists. From this process arise to great advances in the history of humanity, whether scientific and technological or humanistic and artistic. A striking demonstration of this fact was captured by the photographer Benjamin Couprier at the 1927 Solvay Conference, which brought together 29 scientists whose brilliance, that is, creativity and innovation applied to available knowledge, enable advance later distinguished by Nobel Prizes in the fields mainly of chemistry and physics. These prizes, in effect, represent some of the great achievements of humanity in science and technology. However, the most enriching cultural difference and those that should form part of the multicultural will of Europe are found in those spaces most constrained by barriers or natural physics, bottlenecks which restrict flows and, by their retention effect, benefit from less cultural homogenization and a longer temporal preservation of both intangible and material identity elements. These, in turn, allow for a deeper understanding of our history, that is, our collective memory. The recognition of importance of preserving and valuing cultural diversity, culture, and education are enshrined in an extensive list of declarations and manifestos and expressed in various documents issued by prominent global organizations as the United Nations, UNESCO, and the European Commission, among others. The safeguarding of universal cultural wealth, sustained by major scientific, technological, artistic, and humanistic advances, which embody and mark decisive moments and achievements in the world, is the outcome of our heritage grounded in cultural diversity, as well as the stimuli arising from the transdisciplinary integration of cultures, the arts, and heritage as a field that promote creativity and innovation, but also from opportunities and from deliberate, dedicated practices. Yet, safeguarding of our cultural and natural heritage, besides being a social responsibility, is calling incumbent upon us all. to preserve our past in the present, allow us to reflect upon and debate the future we wish to shape, and the collective responsibility to bear as participatory and open and creative democracies. Such an aspiration is only possible through the sheer engagement of citizens within an open and democratic environment of discussion in which well-founded constructive criticism becomes the praxis of mutual understanding. Every human society fosters its cohesion based on common activities and projects, but also on shared values which constitute other aspects of will to live together. Over time, these material and spiritual bonds are enriched and became, in the collective and individual memory, the cultural heritage of the people. As Jacques Delors and others wrote in the report UNESCO of International Commission on Education for the 21st Century, 1996. Honorable rectors, president, professors, distinguished participants, students, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Human development cannot be understood or achieved without recognizing the role of cultural creation in close connection with education, training, research and science, within an environment of humanistic and technological symbiosis. That what distinguishes development from backwardness is culture, education, rigor. In other words, the capacity to learn and to apply knowledge in new situations. For this reason, investment in education must be priority. More enlightened citizens are capable of publicly expressing both their individual and collective interests that are more organized, cooperative, and far-reaching. This idea is intrinsic to the imagination of democratic society. However, contemporary societies tend to organize themselves around actions and decisions that meet immediate needs. This tendency is closely linked to the logic of the consumer society, as analyzed by Gil Lipovetsky, particularly in the 1983 book Le Temps Hypermoderne, but also throughout his extensive bibliography. In this perspective, the present is valued over both the past and the future, and collective as well individual decisions are often guided by impulses, momentary desires, and the search of instant gratification, an expression of emotional and rather rational thinking as the dominant force in human choice, as observed by Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize laureate in economics in 2002. In his book 2011, book Thinking Fast and Slow, this is reflected in social, political and economic practice that prioritize the short term, often to the detriment of more enduring or meaningful cultural constructions. This immediacy contributes to the dilution of specific cultural effects, and cultures come to be consumed as a product, losing its identity and historical character. Traditions, values, and local narratives are often replaced by global and ephemeral trends promoted by mass media, social networks, and globally operating markets. Cultures thus become homogeneous, fragmented, and superficial, hindering the preservation of authentic cultural expressions and the construction of a solid collective memory. The idea of technological and digital destruction made possible through the electric plug, as Neil Postman pointedly observed in his 1985 book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, Public Discourse in the Age of Show Business, indelibly reiterates that cultural discourse has become more trivial, inconsequential, rendering available information simplistic, unsubstantial, historical, and avoid the context transmitted from the perspective of entertainment and the pursuit of spectacle. Sorry. Likewise, though Herbert Marcuse in 1964 work One-Dimensional Man, the reflection of Zygmunt Bauman, especially his concept of liquid modernity, and Kidbor with his theory of the society of spectacle, among others, demonstrate that immediacy not only impoverishes cultures but also constrains social transformation. These dynamics generate societies marked by volatility and symbiotic emptiness, where consumption not only shapes behavior but also redefines the very sense of belonging and of social reconstruction. The individual is at once freer and more vulnerable, living in a world of infinite choice but lacking the deep roots that sustain the identity. This leads to the erosion of a specific cultural effect, that is the collaborative memory of each territory, whether through the weakening of intergenerational transmission of languages, rituals, art, or architecture, or through their replacement by a global culture, often unnoticed by individuals and communities, and without the time for adaptation. Such process depersonalizes territories and behaviors, rendering them inadequate to local natural context, which had long been symbiotically harmonized through the anthropization of landscapes. If on the one hand, the paradox of the information overload that we experience it most often poorly sustained and insufficiently grounded, on the other hand, artificial intelligence, AI, by access of information, facilitating the cross-referencing and the processing of data, constitutes a promising pedagogical tool. Its potential is to support it provides for interdisciplinary research and the acceleration of production of useful contextualized knowledge. Moreover, AI can identify patterns, trends, and propose innovative solutions to complex problems, playing a relevant role in inclusion by adapting content to different audiences and promoting equity and information. Nevertheless, its use raises significant concerns as it may intensify the informal spectacle, induce cognitive dependency, and reinforce opinion bubbles fueled by algorithms that privilege attention and immediate engagement over them. Such dynamics carry the risk of light cultural homogenization insofar as they favor popular and global content at the expense of diversity and cultural specificity. It is important to emphasize that the automation of knowledge productions may weaken critical reflection and intellectual autonomy. For AI to become a true ally of education and science, its use must be accompanied by solid training, grounded in ethical and pedagogical principles, ensuring a balance between technological innovation and social responsibility. At the same time, it is essential to acknowledge that the information generated by AI systems results from the processing of vast data, often guided by statistical models that privilege median tendency and dominant pattern. This process, while effective in generalization, tends to marginalize outliers and reduce the capacity to anticipate rare, high-impact events frequently described as black swan. Particularly in his 2007 book, Black Swan, of the pedagogical and scientific use of AI must be accompanied by critical awareness of its epistemological limitation and of the risks inherent in excessive resilience on the automation of knowledge production. I believe that the responsibility incumbent upon academia and the education of our students, the production of useful knowledge, skills, and competencies, and in the capacity to mediate between academic and common language is fundamental to narrowing conceptual gaps and to fostering a better understanding of the relevance of science and culture for the holistic formation of the individual and for the exercise of active, conscientious, and responsible citizenship. Concerns set out here are indelibly described in the broader project of KreativEU Knowledge Creative European University. This project is the outcome of the intense shaping of vision by all the partners who today integrate this alliance, whose primary aim is to recognize the potential of creativity and innovation resulting from the diversity of Europe's cultural heritage in the activities of education, research, and knowledge transfer inherent to the universality of university studies. I believe that the strategic and structural cooperation embodied in the vision of KreativEU is one of the pillars of our promoting cohesion and inclusion, as well as the pursuit of concepts, methods, and innovative solutions that may contribute to a more sustainable and harmonious future. Magnificent Rector, Honorable Rectors, Presidents, and their deputies, professors, distinguished participants, students, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I would like to emphasize once again the honor I feel in being awarded this title. This distinction represents the effort of all of those who, whether directly or indirectly, contributed to this celebration that has brought us together in this Universitatea Valaia of Targovi's Great Hall, as we build on the legacy of those who came before us. Finally, let me express my gratitude to my family, to my deputies, to my colleagues, to my former president, to my students, and to all of those who, whether openly and anonymously, have contributed to the meaning that is honorable and honorary this for me. Thank you very much for all. Thank you. Well, this moment is a great moment. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Please sit down. Please sit down. For a few seconds, yes. Thank you, Professor Paulo Pereira de Freitas, Coroado, for this conference, academic conference. În încheierea ședinței efective, stimată audiență, vă invit să ascultăm câteva piese muzicale interpretate de corul Apasionato, condusă de dirijorul profesorul Florin Bada. At the close of this special session, I invite you to listen to a piece performed by the Apasionato Choir, led by the Profesor Bada Florin. Crescat Floreat, Universitatea Valachia din Târgoviște. Thank you all again. I declare the session closed. Thank you.
Now, we'll have some pictures outside, okay? One with